Every year, millions of people visit Norway, and every year they make the same mistakes. In my travel consulting calls, I get the chance to pick up on some of them in advance, but in most cases, I hear about them long after they've happened. From booking the wrong fjord tour to packing the wrong clothes to completely misunderstanding travel distances, I've seen and heard it all. So if you're planning a trip to Norway, let me help you avoid the frustration, the wasted money, and the "oh no, what have we done" moments, because these are the 10 mistakes I keep seeing tourists make over and over again in Norway. Number 1, underestimating the weather. Norway does not care what month your calendar says it is, or what the weather is supposed to be like. Summers can be cold and wet. Winters can be suddenly warm or rainy. And the wind, it has opinions. Even when you try to plan for the seasons, Norway can still surprise you. Late January to early March are usually the safest bet for proper winter landscapes in the north, crisp snow and that beautiful blue winter light. But they can also bring storms that shut everything down. May is often magical in the fjords, long days and waterfalls in full flow. And yet you can often get a week of relentless rain and low cloud that makes you wonder why you left the house at all. Late October to early December can be absolutely brutal. Dark, wet, windy, sideways rain. The works. But then, out of nowhere, you'll get one of those spectacular golden autumn days that looks like a postcard. The truth is, you just don't know. You can never know. People pack as if they're going to Spain, and they end up panic buying waterproofs from the first store they can find at crazy prices. The fix? Dress in layers. Think waterproof and windproof. Think sensible shoes. Your Instagram photos will still look great. You'll just have a jacket on. Number 2, trying to do too much in too little time. Norway can look small on a map until you realize that the fjords, the mountains, the ferries, and the winding roads mean that everything takes longer here. When people share their plans with me in my travel consulting calls, this is perhaps the biggest issue that comes up. Tourists regularly try to squeeze Oslo, Bergen, the fjords, the Atlantic Road, Tromsø, and the Lofoten Islands into a week-long trip. I get it. I do. I understand this might be a trip of a lifetime for you, and you want to see as many of the highlights as you can. If that's you, well, look, you can try, but you'll spend the entire holiday in transit and see almost nothing properly. You'll get home and feel frustrated because you barely scratched the surface. So, here's my best advice. Pick fewer places, stay in them longer. Norway rewards slow travel. You get a chance to breathe and truly take in the beauty of where you are. Number 3, assuming all the fjords are the same. I hear this one a lot. A fjord is a fjord, right? No, absolutely not. Norway's fjords are incredibly varied, and picking the wrong one for your expectations is a very common mistake. Take the Oslo fjord, for example. This is a beautiful stretch of water, and it's packed with beaches, islands, sailing boats, cultural sites, and a cruise on it from Oslo is genuinely lovely. But it's not the dramatic, steep-sided fjord that most people envisage when they hear the word fjord. No towering cliffs, no huge waterfalls, no narrow passages between mountains. And suddenly people are asking, wait, is this really a fjord? Yes, it is. It's just a different kind of fjord. Then you have the likes of Geiranger, the Nærøyfjord, or the Hjørundfjord, the classic postcard fjords with vertical walls, thundering waterfalls, and that wow moment around every corner. The Hardangerfjord has softer scenery, fruit farms, and villages that feel like they're made for slow travel. The Lysefjord is rugged and wild, and it's home to Pulpit Rock. Different fjords, different landscapes, different experiences. So before you book, ask yourself what you actually want. Dramatic cliffs, peaceful cruising, fruit orchards, tiny villages, big waterfalls, cultural history. There's a fjord for each of those things. Number 4, not booking things early enough. Norway has limited capacity, especially in the summer. It has limited hotels, limited cabins, limited rental cars, limited berths on the Hurtigruten and Havila coastal ferries. Summer, Christmas, Easter, and Northern Lights seasons fill up fast. I often hear from people with questions like, "We decided to go to Lofoten next week, but we can't find anywhere to stay." If you want to travel the fjords region or Lofoten between June and August, book as far in advance as possible. If you're planning a Northern Lights trip to northern Norway, the same applies. Number 5, expecting to see the Northern Lights on command. The aurora can be magical, but it's also unpredictable, chaotic, occasionally underwhelming, and often a little bit rude. Some visitors stay for one night in Tromsø and then complain that the lights didn't show up. Others do all the right things. They book a week in peak season and get defeated by heavy cloud or a winter storm. And then there are, well, they're the heartbreaking moments, like someone I recently met on a summer cruise in the fjords who told me how much they were looking forward to seeing the Northern Lights. I feel like I shouldn't need to explain this, but you need darkness to see the Northern Lights, and, well, there isn't any darkness in the summer in most of Norway. I hated watching their face fall as I explained that it just wasn't going to get dark enough for them to see any aurora. Seeing the Northern Lights is a game of patience and luck. You need clear skies, solar activity, and a lot of perseverance. No one, not me, not the apps, can guarantee them. That being said, there are ways to increase the odds. If seeing the aurora is a priority for you, give yourself at least 3 nights, ideally more, and always check the weather before heading out for the night. The aurora forecast is useless if the clouds refuse to cooperate. So that's 5 of the biggest mistakes tourists make in Norway, but just before we move on, I do offer travel consulting calls for anyone planning a trip to Norway. I'll help you avoid these mistakes and make the most of your time and budget on your dream trip to my adopted home country. Check out the link in the description if that's something you're interested in. Number 6, underestimating Norwegian hikes. So many people see these incredible photos on Instagram of places like Trolltunga, Preikestolen, Beseggen, and assume they're easy to get to, as if you can just wander there in an hour, take your photo, and be back in time for lunch. That's not how it works. A medium hike, in Norwegian terms, can feel very different for an inexperienced hiker. Norwegian trails are long, often exposed, rocky, and steep. They take hours, not minutes, and the weather can turn halfway through, transforming the whole experience for the better or for the worse. Every year, people show up at famous trails in inappropriate footwear, without layers, sometimes without even food or water, and suddenly that bucket list hike becomes a rescue call. If you're planning a hike in Norway, make sure you know the distance, the elevation, the estimated time, and the weather forecast. Bring proper gear, bring food and water, and don't be afraid to turn back if it suddenly stops feeling safe. The views can be incredible, but they are earned, not guaranteed. Number 7, not respecting nature or the rules. On a similar topic, Norway's right to roam is one of the best things about living here, but it comes with a great responsibility. Every year we see tourists ignoring hiking warnings, getting too close to wildlife, camping where they shouldn't, and treating trails like theme parks. The weather changes quickly and the distances are probably longer than you think. And the one thing you can always do is respect nature and respect others. Take your litter with you, stay on marked trails, and leave no trace. Number 8, confusing expensive with not worth it. Norway is an expensive place to visit. We all know that. But a lot of the country's best experiences, they don't cost very much at all. Hiking, scenery, waterfalls, beaches, national parks, even many museums are surprisingly good value for what you get. The mistake is assuming you have to spend big money to enjoy Norway. Some of the truly memorable moments here, the midnight sun in the north, a quiet forest trail at dusk, watching a waterfall thunder past you, well, they're completely free. The trick is to save money where it doesn't matter so you can spend it where it does. If kayaking on a fjord has been on your bucket list for 10 years, do it. If a small group wildlife tour with a local expert is calling your name, book it. If a once-in-a-lifetime experience is going to make you light up, book it. You won't remember the price afterwards, you'll only remember how you felt. Spend on the things you'll talk about for the rest of your life, not on things you barely notice. Number 9, thinking Oslo is Norway. Oslo is great. I lived there for the first 2 years of my time in Norway, and the football and hockey teams that I support are based there. The National Museum, the Munch Museum, the Opera House, Vigeland Park, there's so many things to see and do in Norway's capital city, but it's not the full Norway experience, not even close. Some people arrive at Oslo Airport, spend 48 hours in Oslo, and think they've done Norway. No, Norway is fjords, fishing villages, mountains, Arctic towns, glaciers, tiny ferries, snowstorms, trolls. Well, maybe not trolls, but a completely different pace of life once you leave the capital. Oslo is a great gateway, and it's really a must-do, but it's not the ultimate destination. Number 10, misunderstanding the coastal voyage. One mistake I see all the time is people booking the coastal voyage with Hurtigruten or Havila thinking it's a traditional cruise. It isn't, not even close. There's no big entertainment program, no Broadway-style shows, no casinos, no endless themed restaurants. The coastal voyage is sold as a cruise, but it takes place on a working ferry. It's a combination of a local ferry, a cargo ship, and a postal service, all rolled into one, and yes, a slow travel experience too. It stops in dozens of tiny ports, often just for 10 or 15 minutes. You're not really sailing from A to B, you're traveling the backbone of coastal Norway. The magic is in the scenery, the rhythm, the sense of being part of daily life along the coast. Now, don't get me wrong, the ships are absolutely beautiful, and in many parts they feel cruise ship standard. But if you're expecting that cruise-like experience, you're going to be a little bit confused and probably disappointed. Now, there is no right way to see Norway on a cruise. If you want tranquility and nature and a taste of local life, the coastal voyage is perfect. If you want longer port calls and more to do on the ship, a traditional cruise could be for you. I cover all of this and more in my complete guide to visiting Norway on a cruise. Check it out over on my brand new YouTube channel, all about cruise travel. I'll see you over there.